gather here at morning into lessons read. It no longer matters what is near and what is real. Whatever where we're headed, but never where we're from. We are the ramblers, and the rain's falling to the sea. We are the branches and the roots of the same tree. We are the ramblers, and the rain's falling to the sea. We are the branches and the roots of the same tree.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's really good to be back. I guess I did okay the last time. Because you invited me back to share some words of wisdom. Hopefully that's what comes out. So I just take a nice deep breath and just allow ourselves to be centered in this space of love and light and knowing and truth. Let something good be said. This is a phrase taken from an Eric Butterworth quote. And so I created this message around something that he inspired me to do, and that is to think about what I say. Always think about what I say. I know that perhaps you were raised similarly to me, where your parents said, now if you can't say something good about somebody, don't say anything, right? And you know, we are creative beings. And what we create is determined by our intentions and our consciousness. Over the last couple of weeks, about 10 days, I have been troubled, and I'm sure you as well, with what continues to go on in the world, at least what we can see and hear and read about what's going on in the world. And the most recent perpetration of the violence in New Zealand against our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community is very troubling to me. Certainly, this is not the first time that people in religious and spiritual communities have been attacked. But this last 10 days have been particularly troubling to me. Our prayers, our thoughts are certainly important, but we must do more. We must do more. We must act from our goodness. We must act from our divine guidance in seeking to know what is ours to do. This is what His Holiness the Dalai Lama said recently about this perpetration of violence. He said the distinction between violence and nonviolence lies less in the nature of a particular action and more in the motivation behind the action. Actions motivated by anger and greed tend to be violent, whereas those motivated by compassion and concern for others are generally peaceful. We won't bring about peace in the world merely by praying for it, says the Dalai Lama. We have to take steps to tackle the violence and corruption that disrupt peace. We can't expect change if we don't take action. So yes, we must take action in prayer, and we must put feet on our prayers. And so to repeat my statement that I said before, we are creative beings, and what we create is determined by our intentions and our consciousness. As I said, this talk is, especially the title of the talk, was inspired by Reverend Eric Butterworth, and he said in one of his many writings, the cutting edge of our creativity is the power of the spoken word. More than we know, we embody the divine essence through our words, through the consciousness in which we express ourselves. Words and the feelings and consciousness behind the words we speak are loaded. I say they're loaded. They're filled with our creativity, our intentions, our energy, for good or for ill. Right? One of the scriptures that Eric Butterworth shared when he spoke about let something good be said was Isaiah 55th chapter and the 10th verse. And that scripture says so poetically what we know to be true. And I'd like to share that with you. It says, for as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return there until they have watered the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. What we say matters. What we say matters. And how we say what we say matters. Right? Mm-hmm. It matters. Our words are loaded. Our words are not just plain vanilla. They're not. When we speak from a consciousness. We speak from an intention. And so it behooves us to be careful in what we say and what we think and how we say it. Because our words, our sentences are loaded. For example, this is my little example. It's an example of a baked potato. I like baked potatoes, okay? So take a baked potato. Envision a baked potato. And you know, we don't eat just plain baked potatoes. We load those baked potatoes. At least I load my baked potato. First butter, maybe some sour cream, right? Our mouths are getting a little watery, right?
Chives.
A little chives. I was just going to say that, chives. Perhaps bacon bits, those of you who want that. Maybe even chili. And yes, sprinkle some grated cheddar cheese on there. But my favorite, after I put my butter on it and some pepper, is steamed chopped broccoli. That's what I like on my baked potato. So as you envision that baked potato, that loaded baked potato, that's the same with your words. Think of your words in the same way. Your words are loaded. Your words are loaded with your consciousness and your intentions. And when you speak them, they do not come back empty. They do not come back void. With every word we think and speak, we water the earth, as the scripture says. We plant seeds in our consciousness, both individually and collectively. And in due time, we harvest what we plant, right? We reap what we have sown. And so if we want a prosperous, productive life, then we must speak from that consciousness of prosperity and productivity. If we want peace, we must speak from that place of peacefulness. If we want harmony, we must speak from a place of love and connectedness. That's what it means when we talk about, let's say something good. Not long ago, I read a story, and this is a pretty deep story about a young man who at the age of 3 years old was found abandoned. He was abandoned. His mother had been struggling with alcoholism, and she lost everything, including a roof over their heads. And he's now in his mid-40s, and in an interview, he recounted some of the times as a young boy. And he said, some nights, unfortunately, I couldn't find my mom. So I would go in abandoned houses or find a piece of cardboard and sleep under trees. And it was on such a night in inner city Baltimore during a snowstorm that he was found in an abandoned house, in the doorway of an abandoned house. He escaped because he was found. What could have been a tragic end to this little fella's life. Soon thereafter, he was adopted by a very loving couple. And that loving couple inspired in him a passion for music. And this passion for music grew and grew as a little boy. And then at the age of 12, he decided that he was going to apply to the Baltimore School for the Arts. And so he applied. And then it came time for him to audition. And so he went to the school, and he went on crutches because he had broken his hip. So as he walks in, the manager of the school says to him, why are you here? And he said, I'm here for the audition. And the manager said, the auditions were yesterday. And so the young boy said, but I'm here now. And so the manager said, okay. And so he allowed him to perform, to audition. And the manager was so taken with him that he allowed the young boy, whose name was Richard White, to matriculate at the school. Now, mind you, not only did he miss the audition a day late, he came for the audition a day late. He could not read a note of music. He played by ear. And while he was at the Baltimore School for the Arts, he learned music. He persevered. He studied hard. He graduated. He went on to college. And he became the first African American to get his doctorate in music for tuba performance. And he now travels all over the world performing. He also is a professor at the University of New Mexico, where he has the opportunity to plant seeds in the consciousness of students. He said, the thing I'm most proud about is that every day I get to go to work and give back and make a difference in a kid's life, because that's what happened to me. There's now a documentary about Richard White, and the title of the documentary is Raw Tuba, Richard A. White. What a story. Now, what does that have to do with let something good be said? Well, throughout his young life, even though he was, as some would put it, a throwaway seed, his adoptive parents took that seed and nurtured it. And they spoke affirming words to him. And they reassured him that he had the potential to be somebody. They infused in him that love for music to an extent that it was who he was. So it didn't make a difference that the manager of the Baltimore School for the Arts said that the auditions were yesterday. He knew who he was, and he knew what he had come there to do and to be. That is the power of our words. That is the impact that our words have on another person, including ourselves. Because a spoken word is not about what you speak to others. It's about what you speak to yourself as well. And so, we always have a choice in every situation. Whether that situation looks good or troubling, we have a choice of either constantly complaining about what we don't have, or what somebody did to us or said to us, or what somebody is doing over there, or we can affirm the good that is always present I am so taken and inspired by the Prime Minister of New Zealand and how she is handling that very horrible situation of the shootings of 50 people in the 2 mosques in New Zealand, in Christchurch. That is what the Dalai Lama means by we must take action. We must do more than pray. We must put feet to our prayers. And she is not allowing her country to do nothing or to do something that would further negatively impact that country. She is letting something good be said, and she is doing her part to improve not only her country, but the world, because she is inspiring all of us to do what is ours to do. I love what Mother Teresa said. She said, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are endless. Kind words have a resonance. When someone speaks a kind word to you, whether you're having a bad day or not, doesn't that lift you up? Doesn't that just kind of, it really goes right here to the heart. Letting something good be said. Even when you think someone is being irrational or unreasonable or self-centered or selfish, a kind word can make all the difference in whether a relationship can work or not. Such was the case for me a number of years ago, and I will shorten this very long story, true story. A number of years ago when I worked for New York State government in human resources, I was asked to lead a statewide project that required me to bring together managers of agencies and union leaders. Now, to say that the managers and the union leaders were at odds with each other is a gross understatement. Okay, I'll just say that. And so the first thing that, quite frankly, I had to do was to be still and ask God, what is mine to do here? How do I bring these two competing forces together so that they can, in fact, solve this problem that was a statewide problem? And it had to do with the very low number, almost nil number of women and minority managers in New York State, in the competitive ranks. What had been going on was that the folks or the titles that had been deemed qualifying for the managerial positions were overwhelmingly encumbered by white men. Duh! And so therefore, even though there was a huge number of women in professional positions and a huge number of minorities in professional and support positions, they were not deemed to be qualifying for the managerial positions. So how were we going to make this right? It wasn't that the women and the minorities didn't know anything. They were very talented. So I brought them together. And what I was able to do was speak words that they could hear. Met with them separately initially, then brought them together in labor management cooperative committees. Long story short, in the end, the managers and the union leaders let their egos go for the good of their constituents. And now, and many years ago, after the project was completed, everyone won. Women, minorities, and the white men were all eligible to take the promotion examinations. And if they scored high enough, they were selected. And guess what? The women and the minorities scored high enough as well to be selected to be on eligible lists for the promotional positions. That is what happens when we let something good be said, when we open our hearts, when you think more broadly, and when you say, we can do this. This is for the benefit of all of us. Not just some of us, but all of us. And so, what about today? How do you give your best in situations that challenge you? How do you let go of past differences to make room for present success? How do you say something good when what you hear almost daily triggers you? In times such as these, Eric Butterworth would say, it takes discipline. It takes discipline. And it must begin with each of us. And he said, we begin by fasting. Not in the traditional sense, although you can do that too, but in the sense of fasting from certain words and thoughts that we speak and think. Eric Butterworth called this the 7-day verbal diet. And he described it like this. On a 7-day verbal diet, you're going to think before you speak. You're going to listen before you articulate things. And you're going to try to put into words only those things that you want to see manifest in your life. You're going to try to keep yourself from the negative cliches, from the profanity, from all the words that have no meaning whatsoever or a negative meaning, and to say only positive, creative expressions. Say them in an effective and positive way. And at the end of 7 days, you will begin to experience a whole new positive healing vibration. And when you do this with friends, your vibration, your healing vibration will increase. So are you with me? You want to try that 7-day verbal diet? Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. I have copies for everyone. And so in closing, I'd like to share another quote from Mother Teresa. And this will help us on our 7-day verbal diet. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. For you see, in the end, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. And so, we will now begin our meditation. You will get comfortable in your seats. And we affirm, I speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. You can say that silently. I speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. I speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. As my heart opens, I then am able to speak kind words, positive, affirming, growth-producing words, words of prosperity, words of productivity, words that uplift, words that heal. I speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. My blessings are not only my blessings. My blessings are the blessings that can heal others. My blessings are the blessings that heal wounds, that heal relationships, that heals entire countries. I speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. And we take this affirmation that's in our hearts now into the silence, into the silence, into the silence. say, speak from the goodness in my heart and allow my blessings to flow. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Let's have a round of applause for Jackie. Thank you so much. You're going to pass those out in the back. They can pick them up on the way out. That'll be great. One of the things that you said that really resonated with me was the discipline that it takes, because the ego speaks so quickly. It takes discipline to try to remain in the upper consciousness of my spirituality and to look for the good. So thank you. And now it is time for us to take our offering, and if you will prepare for the offering. And we will say our offering prayer found in your bulletin. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, Paul. And now it is time for our community concerns. Oh, do you have another song?
I was doing offering. I have an actual song now.
Go for it.
Yeah, oh, no. You get more than that.
We were hoping.
I know it's been a while since I called you. I don't have who we are behind the door. But the love our lives explore. Stop from running. Stop from something. Is this that one thing? Start from something. I know it seems so hopeless to try to uncry tears and undo time. For me, it's felt like I've been stuck in fear. But someday, Mama, I'll be here. Stop from running. Start from something. Is this that one thing? Start from something.
Thank you, Paul. That was lovely. And now it is time for our community concerns. Does anyone have any community concerns that they'd like to raise, Barb?
Well, like I said, Maria's surgery is going to be next Friday. She's gonna be in the hospital about a week, and then she's moving to a rehab center. And then tomorrow, I'd like you to have some good intentions to my son. He's having a PET scan tomorrow, and I was intending to be there, but the interstate is closed, so I'm not gonna be able to be there with him. So let's all send good intentions his way for a positive outcome.
Chad.
Chat.
Any other concerns?
Some prayers for my mother, Ethel Whitey. She fell again on Saturday, and now she's having trouble standing. So, any good prayers towards her are appreciated.
And us also praying for the caregivers.
Yes.
I'll take all I can get.
I did.
I wanted to add that also, when you pray for Maria or anybody else, to include prayers for the medical team that assists them. So it's not just for the patient, our friend, but for the people who are caring for her. Pray for them also, that they are inspired and doing the right things.
And I'd ask your prayer for Kimberly. She's got the creeping crud again, which is why she's not here. We've been through a number of those episodes, and they just seem to like hang on and hang on. And I finally has decided it's because we're having the grandchildren over every week. Yeah. Because the 2-year-old brings it from daycare and gives it to everybody else, and then she starts getting better while the rest of us are getting sick. So it's being passed around 3 families right now.
I have one more thing, Doug.
Yep.
And let's remember Thomas Rowe's celebration of life tomorrow, and prayers for the Rowe family in Warren.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. Our prayers and thoughts have been with you all week, Lord. Would you join with me, please, in saying our prayer of community concerns? Centering our hearts and minds in prayer, we let go of any thoughts of worry or challenge and simply rest in stillness, We know that our source of strength and peace comes from God alone. We give thanks for divine order and trust that we are all held in the power of grace.
Wretched desert takes its form, jackal, proud and tight. In search of you, I feel my way through slowest heaving night. Never fear it bends, I swear it makes no sense. I reach out through the border fence, come down, come talk to me. Swirling, curling, storm of desire, not to words hold fast. With reptile tongue and lightning lashes, towers built to last. Darkness creeps in like a thief and offers no relief. Why are you shaking like a leaf? Come on, come talk to me. Won't you please talk to me? Won't you please talk to me? Can't unlock this misery. Come on, come talk to me. I did not come to steal. This all is so unreal. Can't you show me how you feel? Come on, come talk to me. Come talk to me. Come talk to me. The earthly power, such shadow milk from sleepy tears undone. With nibbled skin, as smooth as silk, the bugles blow as one. Lie there with your eyes half closed, there's no one there at all. There's a tension pulling on your face. Come on, come talk to me. Won't you please talk to me? Won't you please talk to me? Can't unlock this misery. Come on, come talk to me. Don't you ever change your mind. Now your future's so defined, and you're acting so deaf, so blind. Won't you please talk to me? Won't you please come talk to me? Come talk to me. Come talk to me. Come talk to me. Come talk to me.
Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Will Jennings wrote, "Love lift us up where we belong, where the eagles cry on a mountain high. Love lift us up where we belong." And those of us with the new thought thinking can change that a smidge. Love lifts us up where we belong, where the eagles cry on a mountain high. Love lifts us up where we belong.